Chair Roger, I'm the President for the Board of Elections for this calendar year. Can I please have the commissioners introduce themselves, starting with my left?
Ron Castorina, Richmond County Republican. Good afternoon.
Michael Rendino, Bronx County Republican.
Simon Schwartz, Kings Republican.
Frederick Humane, Manhattan Republican.
Michael Michelle, Queens Republican.
Alan Silkin, Manhattan Democrat.
John Flatteau, Kings County Democrat.
Bianca Perez, Bronx Democrat. Marie Guastella, Richmond Democrat.
Michael Ryan, Executive Director.
Dawn Sandow, Deputy Executive Director.
Pamela Perkins, Administrative Manager.
Nina M. Crispino, Director of Personnel.
Kenneth Moulton, Council of Commissioners.
Stephen Pittsburgh, Council for the Commission.
Steve Richmond, General Counsel.
All right, does anyone have anything to add to the agenda?
Queens personnel.
Queens personnel? Anyone else? All right. The minutes of 10:14 and 10:21, has everybody had an opportunity to review them? Yes?
Yes.
Is there a
Yes,
motion?
Mr. President, there's a motion.
Good. Is there a second to that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstained? The motion is carried. Please post the minutes on the website as soon as possible. Thank you. Mike Ryan.
Yes, on October 23rd, 2014, I, along with Dawn Sandow, testified in the City Council before the Governmental Operations Oversight based on the agency-based voter registration, excuse me. What the City Council is simply looking to do is they're looking to expand the number of agencies that participate in disseminating voter registration information to the public. Right now there are, I believe, 17 agencies that are required to do so. They're looking to expand that. And there was quite a bit of discussion. Quite frankly, our piece of the hearing was relatively brief. The Mayor's Office, which is the agency that would ultimately have to carry out any of these initiatives, spent about an hour and a half testifying and answering all the questions of the City Council. I don't think there is a major controversy, at least it didn't sound like one, over whether the pool of agencies could be expanded or that it should be expanded. I mean, I did indicate, however, that there is no ultimately practical reason why we as the Board of Elections should be in charge of disseminating the voter registration forms to the individual agencies. We have a print vendor that we use, and that distribution could just as easily be done by the City of New York in a self-contained way if they're going to expand the number of agencies that do this stuff. We simply have these Code 9 forms in a warehouse. They could be in any warehouse and be distributed. So I hope I made some, inroads into perhaps letting that be the distribution of the paper forms be a fully self-contained city government process as opposed to having us do that. But the other issue that did get quite a bit of attention, which got some attention here as well, was the issue with having specific agencies get specific codes so this could be tracked. And there is some concern, and certainly the administration expressed quite a bit of concern with respect to potential privacy issues, as we discussed here as well. When we were called on to testify, I testified in accordance with what had been previously stated here with respect to the potential privacy concerns, and certainly the spirit of state law, even though the state statute is not specifically referencing these individual agencies analogously, it certainly does. And we encourage the City Council ultimately, at the very least, since there was no position with respect to supporting or not supporting the legislation, what I simply put in my written text on that particular issue was I referenced the state law, and as well indicated that it's section 5-211 subdivision 8, and I encouraged the City Council to conduct a comprehensive analysis of this issue And it seemed like when we left the hearing that the city council and the administration were going to work to refine the code issue. I don't want to speak for the mayor's office, but I think they seem pretty opposed to agency-specific codes, opposed to agency-specific codes. And there are reasons why. I mean, the one I think that jumps out at everybody is, if somebody had to go for some particular reason to the Department for Homeless Services, for services, and now it's on our form, that it's clear that, they went to the Department for Homeless Services. People that are processing the form, it could be a neighbor, it could be a friend. I mean, there are certain relatively sensible agencies that we could agree on that would be an issue with respect to those kinds of things. And quite frankly, from a practical matter, the administration could accomplish the exact same thing by tightening up and really putting an emphasis on agency reporting. And then it would be an aggregate number, and we wouldn't have any of these privacy concerns. I think what the city council was looking to do was to have our information basically track what the administration is doing. Whereas the administration can track what it's doing on its own, and it doesn't necessarily need us to do it. So if they take inventory of how many forms that they take in, and how many they distribute, and ultimately how many they take control of and send to us, well then the same thing is accomplished, and we don't necessarily need to even address the privacy concerns. But that's ultimately going to be a conversation between the city council and the mayor's office, and I did emphasize to them that whatever we are required to do by law that passes legal muster, then we'll do it. And that was pretty much it. It was a relatively uneventful morning into afternoon for us, and elections next week. So.
Great. Anybody want to add anything?
Was there any discussion about a potential increased workload for BOE as a result of, say, doubling the number of agencies that may get involved with
No, we didn't get involved in that, and like I said, I think one of the things that, if it's really going to be onerous, since we use a vendor that is very familiar to the city as well, there is no reason why these forms, if they're going to continue to order them by paper, there's no reason why these forms cannot be sent to a city distribution location, a DCAS facility or otherwise, that would allow them to take control of the forms directly from the vendor and then distribute them to whatever agencies they want to distribute them to, and then we're completely out of it. And then the only increased, quote-unquote, increased workload that we would have would be on the back end, once the forms are completed and we're processing registrations. But presumably, people would be registering, either at this location or another location. I don't think there's an accurate way to predict what type of spike we might experience as a result of more individual agencies encouraging people to register to vote. That'd kind of be like a thing we just have to let it play out and see what happens.
Commissioner, you may?
Yeah, the one thing I would remind the other agencies, to the extent you have an opportunity to do so, that they shouldn't be like a lot of the good government groups that do it in the end, and then provide them to us on the last possible day, and then expect us to have them all processed in time, in the books, in time for the election.
Right.
And so if you could include in the presentation a humble request that they provide them to us monthly or periodically over the course of the year, so that we don't get them all at the last minute. Because that's always the killer for us.
The idea behind it right now is for it to be done on a weekly basis, which might actually help us. If they get folks registered, say, in January, right, because they happen to use the services, that individual will not need to be part of some voter registration drive as it gets closer to election day, because they would have already registered. So if we can get people to register throughout the year on an ongoing basis, that will certainly help us with our processing. And that's the idea behind it. It's not, the idea is not for them to hoard it, and I think there is a push though, however, ultimately to do more, and I'll use it quote unquote, online voter registration, recognizing that there is a very, very big open question with respect to what qualifies as a custodial agency for the purposes of disseminating a computer-generated signature to us, an electronically captured signature. That having been said, there are benefits to even to a hybrid form of online voter registration from a practical perspective. If folks could input their own data and then print up the voter registration form and sign it and send it back to us, we're that much further ahead of the game, because all of that data doesn't have to be input, and now we're just marrying the signature with the previously provided information. It would also cut down ultimately on the number of missing information notices that go out, because an online system would have the required fields, set forth. So you wouldn't be able to submit something if you didn't commit, didn't have the required fields. One of the other things that we're doing as well, and we're getting close to, and it's just a little tweak. We have the PDF online right now that people can download and print it up and send it in. We're making that PDF a fillable PDF so that the people can actually fill it in and then sign it and send it to us. And that will help with processing as well, because we won't have to have all of this handwriting deciphering, going on, with people, is that apartment 16C or is it 16G, right? It'll all be clear and filled out. So that's a good step in the right direction, and probably another little incremental step towards some type of online voter registration. I think it would require a monumental overhaul of state law, or at least in what has been kind of the mood, if you will, in the state legislature, to go to a purely online voter registration. I think that the signature issue is going to continue to be an issue for us, and to capture that, and that's a public discussion that needs to be had. But in the meantime, that doesn't mean we can't do anything. And I think that we're taking the steps that we can do within the rules that we presently act under that can make things better.
Is there a coordinating or lead agency on behalf of the mayoral agencies on this process?
Yeah, the mayor's office.
Any particular unit?
Well, it's the mayor's office,
Yeah.
Special assistant to the mayor, directly Mr. Berger.
Henry Berger.
And as well, there is Bonda Lee Cunningham from the mayor's office of operations. She works directly for Mindy Toller. So those are the two individuals. So I think that is indicative of the emphasis that the administration is putting on it. It certainly, individuals at that high of a level, being involved, show it's a priority. They also testified to the fact that, as it turns out, it was Mayor's Directive 1 of 2014. And they are...
As an EO, Mayoral Executive
Mayoral Executive Order 1. And they are numbered sequentially based on the order of their issuance. So it was the first thing he signed.
Anything else? Is there a motion to move into executive session?
Second. All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? The motion carries.
So any changes registration now that he moved into the city hall and rented out his other place?
All right, just for the record, our next meeting will be November 18th.
Just curious.
Executive session. I'll make the motion. Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? The motion carries. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. In executive session, the commissioners voted to appoint Susan M. Ciacido as the associate staff analyst at the incoming salary effective November 18, 2014. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second, all in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you.